But let's try to see if we can hear these sounds. You climb out of your storm cellar and examine your $500,000 home, now reduced to splinters. And you remember the poem by Mizuta Masahide. You know, and Mizuta Masahide, yeah. You see? Yeah, that alone, is it better than the poem in a way? Is if you can get in things like Mizuta Masahide in your essays, you know, you're really getting somewhere. You know, a lot of this is like basically, like I, you know, read Melville a lot. I finished a book by Shakespeare called Richard II, pretty bad play. And I like to read the bad plays by Shakespeare because I think, gee, like I maybe could have written, you know, a third of this. You know, it's like they're within the realm of real people. You know, like they're still great. They're just not superior. You know, they don't sound like they're written by a god. They sound like they're written by the greatest English writer. But anyway, I read Melville, and like Melville is nothing but making jokes to himself. Like the great writers, this is the way I read them anyway. They're basically all they do all day is make subtle little in-jokes to themselves. And that's what I'm doing in this, you know, besides the sound, that's what I'm doing in this sentence. You climb out of your storm cellar. What a great phrase, storm cellar, you know. It's a ridiculous phrase. Storm cellar, it's like a cellar made out of a storm. You know, it's like that old joke, what is it? Oh yeah, in the song, you old folks must remember this song. Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight?
Do you swallow it in Sprite?
And catch it on your tonsils and heave it left and right. Its flavor on the bedpost overnight.
Session with that again.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that was a skiffle band. The Beatles started out as a group called the Quarrymen. They were playing skiffle, and I think the most famous skiffle band was Lonnie Donegan, who had this hit in 1963 or something. That in America it was a bit of a hit. And you know, if you were 10 years old, it was like, this is the greatest song you've ever heard. And in it, there's a point in it where Lonnie Donegan says, ha, like in a Cockney accent, if tin whistles are made out of tin, what do they make foghorns out of? If tin whistles are made out of tin, what do they make foghorns out of? And that's like storm cellar. You know, it's like a cellar made out of a storm. You know what I mean? It's like a storm cellar. It's an absurd little phrase.
Well, when we were in elementary school, or some of us, we used to always ask each other, have you ever seen a light bulb?
Ha!
Or have you ever seen a watermelon?
A watermelon?
Yeah, a watermelon. Like the melon is a verb. Have you ever seen a watermelon?
What does melon mean, though?
It's a joke.
Yeah, that I got.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I kind of know.
Have you ever seen a light bulb?
No, I know what you mean. That's a whole genre of joke that I used to know lots of. Did you ever see a sandwich? No, that's not it.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
No, sandwich? Maybe. That's a different joke. Yeah. Did you ever see? Yeah, I have to think about that. Okay, yeah. So a little bit, you're getting my sense, right? Yeah. You climb out of your storm cellar and examine your $500,000 home. So I'm going to give you even a deeper lesson on the phonics or whatever sonics of sound in writing. See, in poetry, it has to be more musical. The rhythms have to be, at least in my opinion, the rhythms have to be stricter. Things have to go faster. I bought French fries at Burger King, and they gave me free packets of ketchup, pepper, and salt. There's not an extra syllable. But here, you climb out of your storm cellar and examine your $500,000 home, now reduced to splinters. and you remember the poem by Mizuta Masahide, you have a little bit longer time to work with. You're not on such a strict rhythmic regime. You can play it out, but you still want it to all sound good, you know? And you just do this like over and over, like for hours and hours. It's incredibly tedious, you know, unless you like doing it, which I'm compelled to do it. I just have to keep revising these things over and over and over again. It's like a compulsion. I'm just like obsessive about it. And they're never done. That's the other thing. Like, this, I'm rewriting this as I'm reading it. You know, it's never finished. It's just there's some point where at least for me, it's never finished, but there's some point, who was it? Sartre, I don't know, I looked it up, this phrase. It's a famous line. A work of art is never finished, it's only abandoned. And there's a point where it feels to me it's done. Like, intuitively I feel this is done. And then I send it to the Sun, and then they rewrite it, and then they fuck up all my rhythms. Then I have to unfuck them. I have to write new rhythms because they want everything to be very literal. You know, they don't like things to sound obscure. They want it to be very clear what I'm talking about. Like last night, the thing I was reading, they said, I was listening to the Republican convention on the radio. Something like that. I was listening to the Republican convention on the radio. It doesn't sound bad, you know. Then they changed it to, I was listening to the coverage of the Republican convention on the radio. That fucks the sentence completely, you know what I mean? I was listening to the coverage of the Republican convention on the radio? I mean, what are you talking about? The coverage of the, you know what I mean? First of all, isn't it obvious that there's some fucking Republican convention on the radio? I mean, what are they, people that read the Sun that stupid they can't figure out? It's the coverage, it's not the actual convention itself is on the radio, it's the coverage.
Did you win?
No, I lost. But last night I re-won. I re-edited it. You got the perfect version. Yeah, anyway, I haven't finished this essay that I'm reading now. Yeah, I really had not intended to give you all the secrets. I was going to leave out this whole part. But I'm interested, you know, you seem interested. I don't know if you are. Okay, so I'm still discussing how to edit, right? You have to look at your journal with pity the way you would look at a young child trying to speak and try to guess what this writer deep down wants to say, the writer that is you. Now you're rereading your big journal about your daughter's first communion. I'll read that again. You have to look at your journal with pity the way you would look at a young child trying to speak and try to guess what this writer deep down wants to say. This writer is you. You're trying to like intuit, what does this person mean? What is the ultimate message of this journal? Once you know that, you may know how to end it, because the ending is a really tricky part of a journal. It does not natural for a journal to have an ending. It's natural for a journal to go on forever. You may know how to end it, or if it's the kind of journal you can add to, you can add new illuminating paragraphs. So some journals you make a rule, like the Sun believes in truthfulness and truth, so I'm not supposed to go back and add something to the Hurricane Journal 2 months later, unless I put it at the end. You know, I'm not supposed to interpolate, you know what I mean? Add stuff in the middle. But other journals, like if it's a journal, I wrote a journal lately, that's my next workshop is based on, where I'm thinking about God. What are my thoughts about God? That one I felt like it's more like a topic, it's not like a sequence of events that happened. There maybe I can cheat and add a later, you know. Mostly I already said this 7 times, and I'm going to say it again since it's in this here. Mostly I edit for sound, I want the piece to sound eternal and memorable when it's read out loud, even though it most likely won't be read out loud. I want the words to create a kind of song, like Yeats does. I wrote this essay at my parents' house, and since they have the collected poems of W.B. Yeats, I opened it at random to a poem called Demon and Beast. For certain minutes at the least, that crafty demon and that loud beast that plagued me day and night ran out of my sight. I'm going to read it again. For certain, no, I'll read the title first. Demon and Beast, which is an amazing title. Demon and Beast. For certain minutes at the least, that crafty demon and that loud beast that plagued me day and night ran out of my sight. Mm-hmm. So if you read great poets, like the highest, greatest poets, that rhythm gets into your writing, Lord willing, you know. So, okay, so I think
so what you're basically telling us is read your journal out loud.
You know, that's a good point. I am sort of basically telling you that, but I'm not aware that I'm telling you that. I mean, I'm maybe even telling you something like read your journal out loud, and then pick up your latest copy of the Yeats book and read that out loud, and then see how you can make your essay sound more like Yeats. You know, beautiful. But our rhythms are not going to be Yeats's rhythms. We're living in the fucking 21st century, where people are writing on Twitter. Like, Yeats today would sound more like Twitter. You know, it would sound like the rhythms we live in. You have to translate our world today into this eternal language. You know, it's not imitative. It's not like you're just trying to be the same as Shakespeare. You're trying to figure out where is it going? Where is the literary movement of our time heading? We're trying to push it ahead, break with the past by learning the past. I'm pretty inarticulate on this subject. Oh, okay. We're really running out of time. Boy. Okay, I think we're going to do this project now. So, yeah, okay. Yeah. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're finally getting started with the workshop. This is called Out of Place. And this is another, I'm really talking for at least half, maybe too much. Sorry. Yeah. But I mean, at least I'm talking a lot. Okay, so this is it. I'm going to read this introduction, then we have just enough time to do one of these procedures. Out of place. Being a journal writer is like being a detective. You're constantly searching for the incongruous detail, the armchair that is slightly out of place. Life is a mystery you're trying to solve. As I was writing this, I was standing next to Prospect Park in Brooklyn, looking for a perfect example of a mystifying detail. As I was thinking, an old, ancient-looking woman walked by with hunched shoulders. She was very small, carrying 2 bags, trudging the long block next to the park tirelessly. As she passed by, I looked in one of the bags, a bouquet of flowers. Why would this hard-working woman be carrying a bouquet of flowers? For her boyfriend? For her daughter? For her friend in the hospital? For herself? And what kind of flowers were they? What kind of flowers does such a person buy? The cheapest ones? Pansies? Nasturtiums? I barely know the names of any flowers. Do you know that Sesame Street song? And I looked it up on YouTube. Maybe we'll be able to sing it correctly. One of these things is not like the others. One of these things just doesn't belong. That's what you're looking for. in your life as a journal producer, because that's also what readers want. We're all looking for an escape from sameness. So now we're up to the procedure. It's called One of These Things. Our next procedure is confidential. You will not read these aloud afterwards. I want you to look around the room and notice a detail that interests you, something that seems slightly out of place or thought-provoking. We have 3.5 minutes to write these.